Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Gabby and welcome to my strange little YouTube channel. Today we're back with another vintage and vanished video. Today we're talking about the case of Tiffany Sessions. This was a young girl who was a college student in Florida, and she pretty much just vanished off the face of the earth. There was no trace of her at all, and the main man that many people think may be responsible for her disappearance, they really can't do anything about, and you will learn more about that when I get into the story. So with that being said, let's just get into it. Tiffany Louise Sessions, or Tiffy as many people called her, was born on October 29th, 1968 and was from Tampa, Florida. In 1989, she was a junior at the University of Florida and was studying finance and living at the Casablanca East Apartments. On February 9th, 1989, she told her roommate Kathleen that she was going to be going for a power walk. Now, they would occasionally go together for walks, but going for walks was definitely more of Tiffany's thing. Ever since Christmas break, she was really into working out. She had been losing some weight and feeling good about herself, so it wasn't odd that her roommate didn't want to go for the walk. Kathleen was just basically like, I feel like staying home today. I don't really feel like going for a walk, but, be safe. When Tiffany left the house at around 4:45 p.m., she didn't really have anything with her. She didn't have any keys, her wallet, identification, any money, nothing with her besides the clothes on her back. She left the apartment wearing a white sweatshirt with gray striping on it that had the word Aspen on the collar. She had on red sweatpants, tennis shoes, a Rolex watch, and also a Sony Walkman. For anybody who is younger and doesn't know what a Sony Walkman is, it's basically like a little cassette player, and you would, put your tapes in it and listen to music while you're on the go. Also, many of you are probably wondering, why did she wear a Rolex watch to go jogging? Well, growing up, she missed a lot of time with her father. She was mostly raised by her mother, and when her father came back in the picture, he bought her the Rolex watch, and it was just a gift that she really cherished. She never took it off. One strange thing is that when she did leave the house, she did point out that, yes, I'm going for a walk with this Rolex watch on, like a very expensive piece of jewelry, but, if anybody tries to take it, they're gonna have to fight me for it. She told her roommate this, and this was just like a little conversation that her roommate never forgot about. Maybe about an hour goes by and she still isn't back, and her roommate begins to worry because Tiffany was the type of person who was always on time. Her roommate drives around the neighborhood, maybe thinking that Tiffany got hurt and needed help, but she couldn't find her anywhere. A few hours pass and Tiffany is still not home, and her roommate knows that something is wrong because Tiffany is not the type of person to just let somebody stay at home wondering where she was. If she got sidetracked by something, she would definitely call from a payphone or somebody else's phone and let them know that she's okay and what was going on. So Kathleen decides to call Tiffany's mother and tell her what's going on, that Tiffany went for a walk and she's still not back, and she's getting worried about her because it's dark outside. They contacted the police, and the police really couldn't do much because there was no evidence that a crime occurred, so they couldn't classify her disappearance as a crime just yet. There was no evidence of foul play. A few people came forward and said that they think they saw Tiffany talking to somebody inside of a car, but it could never be proven if this person that they saw was actually Tiffany or not. Tiffany's disappearance really shook this town. I mean, students started walking in groups, women were not jogging after dark, and people were making sure to lock their homes at night. I mean, whoever abducted her was still out there and would probably strike again. No one knew who could have wanted to hurt this young girl. She didn't have any baggage really. No one seemed to dislike her. She didn't have a boyfriend or any love interest at all. She was a good student. She was just a sweet person with a good heart. Tiffany's mother actually called Tiffany her masterpiece because since Tiffany's birth, her mother really made sure that Tiffany was as good on the inside as she was on the outside. Yes, she was a very beautiful girl, but her mother made sure that she was just an all-around good person. The day after Tiffany goes missing, her parents, Patrick and Hillary, show up to Gainesville, Florida. And within the first few days, they have a lot of hope. They think they're gonna find her, but as time goes on, they are terrified, especially because she has none of her belongings with her. No money, no identification, nothing. Now, her father, Patrick Sessions, was a marketing executive, so he used his marketing skills to organize one of the biggest missing person searches in Florida history. Her father was determined to find his daughter, and he knew that the media was the main way to get it done. So he would hold press conferences, he would put her photo on billboards, he even put a photo of her on the inside of pizza boxes. He hired private investigator Wayne Black, who specialized on cases of missing people, and they did everything they could to help find out what happened to this young girl. Her stepbrother also revolved his entire life around trying to find his stepsister. There were even celebrities, athletes, Jeb Bush getting on television to try to spread the word of this disappearance. I mean, within the first week, there were 700 people looking for her, and the hotline for her case was receiving about 600 calls a day. They received so many leads that her father still to this day thinks that they could have missed something. I mean, there could be the answer to their prayers in a stack of papers from almost 30 years ago.
Kind of unprecedented, the amount of attention that Tiffany Sessions got, and yet
no leads, no physical evidence.
It was pretty obvious we were in a huge problem. If anything was going to turn up then, it would have turned up in that search.
The first suspect in this case was a convicted serial rapist and murderer named Michael Knickerbocker. Police received an anonymous letter from an inmate claiming that they overheard Michael say that he killed Tiffany Sessions. So police went to interview Michael, and this man was insane. He basically told police, no, I didn't kill her, but if I did, I would have done it this, and this way. I mean, he was just a twisted individual. He was serving 5 life sentences for a previous crime, and then he ended up telling police that he was the one who wrote the letter and he did it as a sick joke. They actually received tons of letters from people in jail claiming that they knew information regarding the case of Tiffany Sessions, but they knew nothing. It was all just a joke to them, and her father figured that somebody out there knew something and that they would be more likely to come forward with information if there was something in it for them. So he offered a $75,000 cash reward for anyone who could give any information that would lead to the discovery of what happened to his daughter. He got a call from a man claiming that he was holding Tiffany hostage, and Tiffany's father believed this at first. But this man was found out to be a con artist, and he basically led them on a wild goose chase around Miami, and they caught him, and he had to serve 6 years in prison. Like anyone would be, her father was completely fed up with people playing games. So he increased the reward from $75,000 to $250,000, $250,000. It was about a year after she went missing at this time, and this case gets an even more horrible twist. Within a week, 5 students were found murdered in the Gainesville area. There was a serial killer on the loose. Weeks later, a man named Danny Rowles was convicted for the crime, and he admitted to what he did, but he said that he was not involved with the disappearance of Tiffany Sessions, and police ruled him out because he was actually in Louisiana at the time of her disappearance. One officer who really pushed this case was a woman named Sadie Darnell. She put in so much time and effort and always told Tiffany's father words of encouragement to keep him going. She is the one who came forward with the next suspect, our main suspect still to this day in this case, a convict named Paul Rowles. Paul Rowles was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of a young girl, and then randomly released on parole in 1985, only serving 13 years of his life sentence. In 1988, he was living in Gainesville, Florida, where he was working as a pizza delivery driver for Pizza Hut, and also had a job where he was putting up scaffolding. One of the places where he was putting up scaffolding was an apartment complex called Hunter's Run. This complex was on the route that Tiffany took during her walks. So a year after this man moves to Gainesville, Florida, Tiffany Sessions goes missing. And listen to this, the day that she went missing, he actually didn't show up to his pizza delivery job at Pizza Hut. Well, in 1992, 3 years after Tiffany's disappearance, a college student named Elizabeth Foster is killed, only a mile away from where Tiffany went missing. Coincidental? Well, at the time, they were unable to connect Paul to either cases, but even Elizabeth's mother believed that her daughter's case was related to the disappearance of Tiffany Sessions. 2 months after Elizabeth's murder, he moved to Jacksonville, Florida, which is quite a few hours north, and he went on in 1994 to rape a 15-year-old girl, and he was trying to kill her, but she thankfully got away and was able to identify him as her rapist. He admitted to the rape, but he didn't admit to any other crimes. They entered his DNA into their database to see if there was any other matches to any other cases, and in 2012, 18 years later, there was a match of his DNA to DNA found on Elizabeth Foster. Her case was solved. So he murdered Elizabeth Foster, and they decided to go question him about the disappearance of Tiffany Sessions in December of 2013. And they were thinking, you know, we're gonna get him to crack, we're gonna get him to confess, this is our time. So they went and they were gonna interview him, and when they got there, he was actually in a coma and dying from lung cancer, and he passed away 2 weeks later. Everything adds up though, the timing, the area he was in, he was targeting young women, he was also absent from work that day, and they looked in one of his address books, and right there was written 2989, the date that Tiffany went missing. So they went to the area where Elizabeth Foster's body was found, and they started digging, thinking that maybe possibly Tiffany's body was there also, because he called this area a dumping ground. They dug up the area. There was so much area they covered. They dug and sifted through pounds of dirt and found no remains. There have been tons of leads through the years, but every single one basically hit a dead end. But her family and everybody working on this case just refuses to give up. It is insane how hard they worked. I mean, it's mind-boggling how much effort they put into finding her. I mean, she obviously knew she was loved, but I don't think she could comprehend how much she was loved. Like, they look at literally every single day they wake up as a new opportunity to find out something else about what possibly happened to Tiffany. Her family, most anyone working on this case, anyone who researches into it, most anyone who knows of this case and the backstory can basically all agree that Paul Rowles was most likely guilty of the abduction of Tiffany Sessions. And just think about how that must feel. This man had a life sentence and he got out early. So if he did abduct Tiffany, if he just sat in prison and served his time, she would still be here, and so would Elizabeth Foster. If you have any information regarding this case at all, you can remain anonymous and call the number 1-352-384-3323. I will also link her Facebook page down below for you to check out. If Tiffany is out there somewhere and alive today, this is probably what she would look like. Tiffany Sessions was 20 years old at the time of her disappearance. This case is almost 30 years old, and her family still has no idea what happened to her. She literally just vanished without a trace. This is a case that I have not really seen anybody on YouTube talk about, and it's crazy because this is just a case that is just so heartbreaking, like the entire backstory of it. This was a young girl who had her entire life in front of her, and her father had all the media connections in the world to get the word out about this case, and still it just went nowhere. Now, I haven't really heard anybody bring up this point, but researching into this case, this is one of the main things I thought. Let me know down below what you think. But I think one huge aspect in this case is her watch. Now, if you think about it, if somebody abducted her and they disposed of her body somewhere, which I hope not, but if somebody did dispose of her body, they were going to take her watch. There's no way in hell that somebody would bury her body somewhere and not take a very expensive watch and just go sell it somewhere. This watch could still be out there somewhere. I mean, the person who was responsible for her abduction may have pawned it. I mean, there could be somebody out there right now in the entire world that has her watch and has no idea that it's connected to this case. If they tracked down this watch and somebody came forward with it, they could possibly find out where it came from and who sold it, and I don't know, it could just be a big piece in this puzzle. Like I always say, definitely let me know down below in the comments what your opinion is and what you think, and leave any other recommendations for video ideas, and like and subscribe if you're not already. I love you guys so much, and we'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.